Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Aishwaram Shastram Utstrija Bandha Mokshanudarshanam Vivikta Padam Agyaya Kim Asat Karma Bhir Bhavit Aishwaram Shastram Utsrija Bandha Mokshanudarshanam Vivikta Padam Agyaya Kim Asat Karma Bhir Bhavit. Vaishnavis, Aishwaram, bringing understanding of God or Krishna consciousness. Shastram, the Vedic literature. Utsrija, giving up. Bandha, of bondage. Moksha, and of liberation. Anudarshanam, informing about the ways. Vivikta Padam, distinguishing spirit from matter. Agyaya, not knowing. Kima Satkarma Bhi Bhavit, what can be the use of temporary fruitive activities? Translation. Narada Muni had spoken of a swan. That swan is explained in this verse. The Vedic literatures, Shastras, vividly describe how to understand the Supreme Lord, the source of all material and spiritual energy. Indeed, they elaborately explain these two energies. The swan, Hamsa, is one who discriminates between matter and spirit, who accepts the essence of everything, and who explains the means of bondage and the means of liberation. The words of scriptures consist of variegated vibrations If a foolish rascal leaves aside the study of these Shastras to engage in temporary activities, what would be the result? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. I find this especially extraordinary purport because Srila Prabhupada reveals his global strategy for spreading Krishna consciousness, which he generally doesn't do directly from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. So purport. The Krishna consciousness movement is very eager to present Vedic literature in modern languages, especially Western languages, such as English, French, and German. The leaders of the Western world, the Americans and Europeans, have become the idols of modern civilization, because the Western people are very sophisticated in temporary activities for the advancement of material civilization. A sane man, however, can see that all such grand activities, although perhaps very important for temporary life, have nothing to do with eternal life. The entire world is imitating the materialistic civilization of the West, and therefore the Krishna consciousness movement is very much interested in giving the Western people knowledge by translating the original Sanskrit Vedic literatures into Western languages. The word Vivikta Padam refers to the path of logical discourses concerning the aim of life. If one does not discuss that which is important in life, one is put into darkness and must struggle for existence. What then is the benefit of his advancement in knowledge? The people of the West are seeing their students becoming hippies. Despite gorgeous arrangements for university education, the Krishna consciousness movement, however, is trying to convert misguided, drug-addicted students to the service of Krishna and engage them in the best welfare activities for human society. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshurumritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namo Namah Shivaya. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Vestaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. In strategic planning, one of the preliminary activities, even before the formulation of the strategy, is what is called environmental scan. We need to scan or study the environment. What is the context in which we are trying to do a certain activity? Because that context, the trends, the influences, the different dynamics of the environment will determine or will inform the steps we take, what strategy we actually adopt. So Srila Prabhupada gives an example of this, and of course here is very in a summarized form, very synthetic, few words. He's saying, everybody is enamored by the Western civilization and their technological success. Therefore, we are now focusing specifically on the Western people. And we are specifically focused on translating the Shastras, because the verse speak about the Shastra, Aishwaram Shastram, God-conscious scriptures. And therefore we should specifically focus on giving a priority to translating the books into Western languages, because they're the most influential. And if they become Krishna conscious, then the world will follow, because the world naturally follow the Westerners. That's in a nutshell what Srila Prabhupada is talking about. Now, we also need to consider that the environment is always changing. This was written most probably in 1975. 1975, which is 40 years ago, the world has changed a lot. Of course, in some elements, the Americans and the Europeans are still in the top of the world, or still seen as a point of reference, as a trendsetter, as a pace setters. For instance, if you want to buy an airplane, generally, if you want a good airplane, either you buy an American airplane, Boeing, or you buy a European airplane, Airbus. Recently there was a cooperation between 3 European countries, and they put together the largest commercial aircraft in the world. So in many ways, the West is still at the avant-garde in technology, scientific research, but the trends have changed, are changing. For instance, I just found an article in the Times of India that describing how China just recently became the number 3 education hub in the world. International education means people will leave their country and go into some other country for their college. It's a big business, and it's growing very much. Just in the last 15 years, it's grown 65%. So it's a major industry, which also indicates the reputation, the equity of those countries and universities that offer the courses. So China, when Srila Prabhupada wrote this verse in 1975, it would have been inconceivable for China to be the 3rd largest educational hub in the world. In 1975, when Srila Prabhupada wrote this purport, Mao Zedong was still alive. How many of you have heard about Mao Zedong? Not so popular anymore. Yeah, you're from China, Japan, but you heard about Mao Zedong. Not many people heard about Mao Zedong, but Mao Zedong is one of the most important personalities in the 20th century. He was the one who did the communist revolution in China. He conquered the power in China. He was the chairman of the Communist Party, basically, till his death in 1976. So he was one of the, and he was, Mao was a Maoist. It was a joke. But he was a communist, and communist China, I mean, some of you remember in the 75 what people thought about China. Anyway, right now there are about 3.5 lakhs, 350,000 students from all over the world who go to China and study. And 8% are Americans. So you have more than 25,000 Americans who go to China for education. Now, in 1975, this would have been inconceivable. First of all, no American would think to go and study in communist China. Second, it was not on the radar. But now, right now, it is. U.S. and the U.K., United States of America, and United Kingdom, England, they're still number 1 and 2 in terms of education. People still go there, mostly. But China is number 3. And recently, it knocked off from number 3 France. France was number 3. Now France is number 4. See, when Srila Prabhupada was writing this in 75, I don't know if France was 3 or 2 or whatever, but he specifically says Western languages such as English, French, and German. And nowadays, more students go to China than to Germany to study from all over the world. So things are changing, and things are keeping changing. China as a goal in 2020, so in 5 years, to get to the point of having 5 million foreign students in 5 years. 5 million. In other words, they want to expand 10 times. India is a bit behind. India, only about 27,000 people come from outside India to study. 27,000. So less than 10% of how many people go to China to study. And probably of those 27,000 people, at least 1% are here in Mayapur. Without counting all the Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vibhas students who come on tourist visa, so they're not calculated as students, but they're actually students. So the world is changing, and this gives us a very, very interesting picture of the mind of Srila Prabhupada, the strategic mind of Srila Prabhupada, how he sees the world. And it's a fact. He said, I wanted to come to America. My god brothers wanted to come to London. And in fact, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur sent a missionary to London. And that made sense in the 1920s, 1930s, because certainly London was the hub or the center of the greatest empire in the world. There was a saying that the sun never sets on the British Empire, because technically you could go throughout the world. I mean, the sun will technically never set on the British Empire, because wherever the sun was, there was some British territories. And India was a colony of England. So it was natural that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would send his missionaries to London at that time. At the same time, it was natural and very strategic that Srila Prabhupada went to New York instead. Now, I don't know, obviously, I don't know, but maybe if Srila Prabhupada had to start his movement, not in 1966, but say in 2066, he might have gone to Beijing. I don't know. He might have gone to the capital of China. I don't know. So, although this is a picture of Srila Prabhupada's mind in 1975, it still remained relevant. The thinking remained relevant. Maybe in 100 years, in 200 years, in 500 years, in 1,000 years, people will read this purport and say, why French? France doesn't exist anymore. Or why Germany? You know? But at that time, obviously, and still obviously, they are still very influential countries, especially because of their colonial background. So you translate the book into French, you can reach so many countries. I believe there are about 16 countries just in Africa. Their official language is French. So it makes sense. You translate the book into Spanish, there are about 20 countries in the world that Spanish is their official language. And Spanish is gradually conquering the United States of America. There was a calculation that in a few years, 30% of the United States will be Spanish speaking. If you step in a shop in Miami, Florida, chances are they talk to you in Spanish, they don't talk to you in English. Anyway, so Let me see what else I wanted to say. Yes. I wanted to say that Srila Prabhupada truly needed missionaries. He's saying here, another part of this strategy, he's saying, to go into the colleges. He needed intelligent people. Because when you start a movement, you need people, ideally, you need people who are intelligent. Intelligence means, one major aspect of intelligence is the discriminatory power. Discrimination. There should be, in fact, intelligence means intelligere from Latin. Intel, in between two things you're able to read, you're able to see, discriminate. So obviously, for worldwide mission to spread all over the world, it needs intelligent people, people who can think and maintain their principles, at the same adapt to circumstances, see what's necessary, and so on. So Srila Prabhupada says, the people of the West are seeing their students becoming hippies, despite gorgeous arrangements for university education. So by 1975, Srila Prabhupada had been to many American universities. I've been to Boston, to many universities. And he has seen, so he's talking about an observation, gorgeous arrangements. He saw those campuses, those gardens, those dormitories, those classrooms. He has seen it, gorgeous, very opulent, very well organized. But he has also seen that people were becoming hippies. From those educational institutes, there were people who were, some at least, a percentage, were giving up the American dreams or the ambition for security and wealth, and they're just giving up everything in search for something else. In fact, Srila Prabhupada in 1971 had written in a letter, when one gets to the topmost of material opulence, immediately there is a tendency for renunciation. This hippie movement is like that. They have got a good qualification that they have renounced this materialistic way of life. Srila Prabhupada certainly was against the hippie ethos of casual interaction between the genders, or intoxication, and a number of things. But at least they could see this. They are becoming detached. They don't have hopes or dreams in material life. So that's a good qualification. The year before, in 1970, Srila Prabhupada said, it is a fact that the hippies are our best clients. This is marketing. The marketing of the holy name, Nama Hatha. We often, especially in the West, when we talk about Nama Hatha, in ISKCON we mean congregational activities, home programs, and so on. But in the vision and the parlance of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Nama Hatha, the market of the holy name, was everything. It included big markets, he says Vrindavan, Mayapur. It included temples, which calls it shops, and it included traveling salesmen, like sannyasi, traveling preachers. So the conception of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur of Namahatha is the whole movement of Sankirtan. So Srila Prabhupada is talking in terms of marketing. We are marketing a message, we are marketing a practice, a lifestyle, a worldview, and in 1970 the best clients were the hippies. Now, that's another statement that now, after 45 years, will not be accurate anymore. Right now, first of all, there are not hippies anymore, really. There's no real hippie sampradaya still existing. There are different forms of weirdness, but the hippie culture is disappeared. And now, probably if Srila Prabhupada right now, probably, or anybody would right now, our best clients are probably the IT students. That's where we generally, how many of you are IT students or ex-IT students? Okay, okay. How many of you are hippies or or from hippie background? Okay, see, you're in a minority now. I'm sorry, Prabhu. So now the best clients are the IT students, the IT professionals. That's where the preaching in many parts of the world focuses. Okay. And now there are other problems. You see, Srila Prabhupada was saying these people go to the universities, but they become hippies. Now, for instance, I mentioned, Srila Prabhupada mentioned German language. Germany is still a very powerful country. There is this very interesting dynamics historically that the countries that they were defeated and destroyed in the Second World War later on became the most powerful countries in terms of economy. Like Germany. Germany was totally destroyed at the end of Second World War. Japan was totally destroyed. Think of Hiroshima, Nagasaki, the atom bomb. At one point, the Americans kept the Emperor of Japan, Hirohito, but just as a symbol. Actually, General MacGregor ran the Japan for 6 years after the Second World War. The Japan lost everything. But then, somehow, for different reasons, mainly because those who won the war kept investing in military expenses. While Japan, Germany, they didn't spend anything. They even changed the constitution saying, we will not send the soldiers anywhere in the world. So they focused their energies on economic development, industry, technology. And so they became very powerful. So Germany is still very powerful. In fact, in the European Union, especially in the Euro group, the countries that use the Euro as their currency, Germany is totally dominating. Nothing happens in Europe if Germany doesn't approve. Some of you are from Europe. I mean, if you read the newspapers, that's a fact. At the same time, they may not become hippies, but just a few days ago, there was a flight. German Wings was the airline, and there was a normal flight from Spain to Germany. And the pilot just decided to commit suicide. He decided to commit suicide, and he was flying, he was the co-pilot, the second pilot. So what they did, the main pilot went to the bathroom, so the co-pilot locked the door, and then he took the plane and he crashed it into the mountains, into the Alps, and he killed under 50 people. And the newspapers all over the world were saying, how can it be possible? People, then they found out he was depressed, he was suicidal. How come they didn't know about that? Don't they check these things? So, in other words, Germany, very powerful, very rich country, very influential. But then it produces people who are desperate. And they're so desperate and so nihilistic in their outlook that they don't mind killing themselves with under 50 people. So this is just a sign of the underlying failure of Western civilization. That. Okay, I'll stop here. I'll see if there are any questions. Otherwise, I have a few more things to share, but is there any question on what we discussed so far? Yes, Jagannath Prabhu. We have a mic. Do we have a mic?
Hare Krishna. As a matter of principle, when introducing someone new to Srila Prabhupada's books, typically would it be intelligent to inform them about some of the statements in the books which may be perceived as dated?
Such as?
Hippies, etc.
He's asking if in introducing Srila Prabhupada books to someone would be intelligent, would be appropriate to tell them that some of the statements will be a bit dated, like the hippies. I wouldn't say so. I mean, I wouldn't recommend that now you go in a street somewhere in Tokyo or Nairobi or Rio de Janeiro, you sell a book and say, be careful, at page 281, Srila Prabhupada mentioned the hippies, but that's because he wrote that in 1975, so don't worry about that. I won't bring the attention to that. First of all, because this extemporary or we could say contemporary notes are very rare. Srila Prabhupada rarely speaks about these things. Second, because any intelligent person will understand that, yeah, this was written in, there is the biography of Srila Prabhupada, so it's obvious that Srila Prabhupada left in 1977, so whatever he wrote was before 1977. So any intelligent person would understand that. So I wouldn't recommend it as a priority. Like for instance, in the first canto of Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada mentions the conflict between China and India. He says these are very old civilizations, they have been at peace, and now they're fighting for some place where people can't even live. In fact, when you see the map of India, the map of India, you see that towards China there is an area that says controlled by China, but India still reclaims it's his. So Srila Prabhupada mentioned that, which is we are talking about more than 50 years ago. But obviously, the principle remains. The people shouldn't fight for stupid things. Shouldn't fight for some top of a mountain somewhere where they cannot even live. What's the point? So either it's a mountain in China or a desert in Chile or a forest in Congo, the principle remains. And even this principle remains because it says, look, they have all these big colleges, famous college, Harvard, MIT, and Princeton, and this and that. But then the students are becoming hippies. So now they may not become hippies, but they're still into drugs very much. I mean, you're from America. You know what the college dormitories looks like. I mean, they are into drugs. They are into illicit sex. Right? So the principle of people becoming spoiled despite the college education remains. Okay? Thank you. Anything else? Okay, so I have a few things more to share. Since there are no questions, I will share them. First of all, there is in the same vein, in 5 chapters, 6th canto, chapter 10, the 4 in the 5 chapters, Srila Prabhupada says something which really resonates with what he's saying here. And obviously it was written basically at the same time. 5 chapters, I don't know how many days would that taken, a couple of weeks maybe, I don't know. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, if one is advanced in knowledge, he must always be prepared to sacrifice anything for a better cause. At the present moment, the entire world is in a dangerous position. under the spell of a godless civilization. The Krishna consciousness movement needs many exalted, learned persons who will sacrifice their lives to revive God consciousness throughout the world. We therefore invite all men and women advanced in knowledge to join the Krishna consciousness movement and sacrifice their lives for the great cause of reviving the God consciousness of human society. This is another unusual way of expression of Srila Prabhupada, because generally he talks about principles, but specifically here he says, we invite all men and women to join Krishna consciousness movement and sacrifice their lives for the great cause of reviving the God consciousness of human society. And just yesterday, Dandavats, the website Dandavats, published an article by Vishaka Devi Dasi Mataji. It's an autobiographical and philosophical article. The title is Real Knowledge Changed My Life, which is exactly what this verse talks about. How when one is learned in the Shastra and they start discriminating between matter and spirit, his life changes, his goal changes, his activities change, his thoughts changes, everything changes. And she describes how receiving knowledge from Srila Prabhupada changed her life. She was an atheist. She admits it. She was an atheist. She had plans for a career as a photographer, this and that. She had academic background and so on. But when she got the transcendental knowledge, she was touched by the Chit Shakti, touched by the lotus hands and mouth of Srila Prabhupada. Her life changed. She dropped all her dreams and she became a dedicated preacher. She dedicated devotee, dedicated missionary. In fact, she was in India with Srila Prabhupada. She traveled, she took photos, she did a lot of things. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada gave her very confidential assignments because of knowledge. So this is the central idea in this verse and purport. When people get real knowledge, their life can change. And then they can completely dedicate to give this knowledge to others. Any comment from our learned Prabhus or Matajis, or any question? Yes?
I think what you said about the German flight.
German flight.
Yeah, it seems to me that Krishna is always doesn't.
Can you speak in the mic?
Yeah, it seems that Krishna doesn't like pride at all.
Doesn't like pride.
Yeah, and we see many nations are so proud. Many nations. The Polish, the French, the Israel, any nation is so proud. And the German,
Polish.
Any nation. I mean,
Polish is not so proud.
Even I think every nation thinks some way gets the illusion that they are the best nation. Somehow or other, Krishna convinces someone, you are the best nation, and that person is in illusion.
Can you speak in the mic, please?
I am in the best situation in the material world. I have the best nation, and somehow or other he gets this illusion. But actually, this pride is not so good. And we know that the Germans, they are now the champions in football. I think Krishna is doing it deliberately to a nation who is proud, you know, is like euphoric about their own nation, and it sends some disaster to that nation who thinks that they are really the
So you're saying because the Germany won the World Cup of football, Krishna arranged that the pilot committed suicide?
Yeah. That's what I see all the time.
Maybe you have a deeper vision than mine, so I can't comment on that. But it's a fact. Pride, no, it's a fact. I mean, I said the Polish are not so proud because historically they may not have so many things to be proud about. But there is this pride in every nation of the world. If you go to the Lima, Peru airport, there's a huge, inside, there is a huge written on the wall, there is written, "Tengo l'orgullo de ser peruano." I have the pride to be Peruvian. Which is strange, because, I mean, which is actually an admission of inferiority complex. Because if you had to say to the world, we are proud to be this, it means you have an issue with that. You'll never see in the Frankfurt airport, I'm proud of being German. Because the whole world already knows they're proud of being German. Before the Second World War, their anthem, their national hymn was Deutschland über alles. Germany above everybody else. So that's what they think, no? But of course, Peruvians, they don't have that, you know? They were first dominated, conquered by the Incas. They were conquered by the Spaniards. So whoever organized the airport, they felt, you know, we need to kind of pump up that pride it's a fact. People are proud of their nationality because that's their ego. The whole world proceeds from ego. And so whatever circumstances we find, we are proud of that circumstance, no? And every country feels we are the very noble country of, Uzbekistan, very noble country, great tradition, and so on. Uzbekistan doesn't exist, by the way. I'm just saying a word, so not to offend any country. I'm just saying, because that's ego. Ego projects on anything. So even if it's a little island in the middle of nowhere, people will have a very proud flag and think we are very special. We are much better than the other island 2,000 kilometers down the line. It's a fact. But what Srila Prabhupada says here is that some countries, they even have more reasons to be proud because they are dominating economically, militarily, politically. So he's saying we should focus on them so they bring up Krishna consciousness all over the world. And as a last comment, I wanted to share something interesting because Americans and Europeans, according to Srila Prabhupada, they're actually Kshatriyas. Srila Prabhupada explains that, I want to read the quote. This was a lecture he gave this is a lecture he gave in New York, 1971. And he said, he's talking about Parashurama. He declared war against the Kshatriyas, and he was incarnation of God. He was killing the Kshatriyas like anything. And some of the Kshatriyas fled from India and came to this part of the world. So, from a historical point of view, you Europeans and Americans, you belong to the Kshatriya stock of old India. So because they belong to the Kshatriya stock, it's kind of natural they have that mood. It's kind of natural that they became the colonial power, conquering places in South America, in Africa, in Asia, including India, different other places, because they have that mood. And that mood was kind of present in the first batch of missionaries, ISKCON missionaries from Europe and America. The kind of Kshatriya mood, we'll go and conquer, we'll do this and we'll do that. And Srila Prabhupada channeled the Kshatriya mood into spreading Krishna consciousness. Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.